and welcome to the Board Crazy Review. I am D, and this week I am reviewing Blue Lagoon with...
What was up with your voice right there?
What? What's my normal voice?
It was too dulcet. But I'm Will. Hello, everybody.
Okay. Yes, you are Will.
Yes.
Here to review Blue Lagoon with me. And
we are Board Crazy.
we're most of Board Crazy.
Yeah, we miss Graham.
Oh well. Before we get reviewing this game, as we always do, we're going to run my introduction to it from our gameplay video, if you haven't checked that out yet, so you have a little understanding of how the game works. So here that goes. Blue Lagoon is a game for 2 to 4 players, designed by Reiner, Knizia, and published by Blue Orange. In this game, the players are chiefs, who are trying to make their tribes the most renowned on a resource-rich archipelago. To set up a game, all of the resource and statuette pieces are placed into the bag, shuffled up, and then placed out randomly on the spaces on the board with circles of stones. The players will then choose a color, and then take all of the villages of that color, as well as a number of settlers, which is dependent on the player count. The game is played over 2 phases, with the first being the exploration phase. During this phase, players go in clockwise order, placing one of their pieces on the board at a time. Players have 2 options when placing pieces. They may either place a settler boat side up in any unoccupied water space, or place a village or settler on an unoccupied island space that is adjacent to a piece they've already played. If a player places a piece on a space with a resource or statuette, they take it from the board and keep it in their possession. The phase ends once either all of the resources have been collected or both players have placed all of their villages and settlers on the board. Once this is done, scoring takes place for the phase. Players earn points for occupying 7 or 8 of the islands, for linking together islands with their pieces, for having the majority of pieces on an island, for collecting sets of resources, and for collecting statuettes. Once these points have been calculated, play then proceeds to the settlement phase. At this point, all settlers and any remaining resources and statuettes are removed from the board. Also, any villages on spaces with circles of stones are removed from the board and also from the game, along with any unused villages. All other villages remain where they are on the board. Then the resources and statuettes are once again mixed up in the bag and placed out on the appropriate spaces on the board. Play then continues where it had left off, with players in clockwise order placing one settler at a time on the board. Like in the first phase, the settlers must be placed adjacent to previously placed pieces. However, in this settlement phase, this also applies to pieces that are placed on the water. This phase ends once one of the same conditions from the exploration phase is met. Then scores are calculated once more in the exact same way, and the player who has scored the most points between the 2 phases is declared the winner. All right, so
Blue Lagoon.
time to talk about Blue Lagoon.
Designed by the much-renowned Reiner Knizia.
This is a game that I'll be honest, going into it after having read the rules, but before playing it, I was not optimistic.
It's something about just the simple idea, like right off the bat, of like you play the game, you play one round, and then you pretty much play the exact same thing again.
You play usually when a game has distinct phases, they try to make those phases distinct, mechanically speaking.
Yeah.
But you read this, it's like, okay, you do the first round, then the second round's kind of the same thing, but simpler.
Yeah.
Also, so I was going in like, oh, it's might be kind of lazy. I'm not sure this is going to be all that worth it. You play it, and those few subtle differences between the 2 phases makes them really strategically distinct.
Yes.
Even if the gameplay is basically identical, it plays very differently in your head. So it ends up being a much more enjoyable, entertaining experience than I was expecting.
It's more like refined and balanced than I thought it would be. I agree with you, because the first round, you have more pieces, it takes a little bit longer, and you actually think this is going to be like the easier round to do what you want. And in some ways it is, because you're putting out, you have all your villager pieces as well as the villages itself.
And you have a lot more freedom
in
the first phase, because you can place anywhere on an open water space.
Yes. I don't know, it just you feel unshackled in a way when you're allowed to just put them wherever you want. But there needs to be strategy because...
Well, yeah, that's the thing. What you do in the first round hugely sets up what how well you do in the second round. Or not necessarily, but probably will. You really can't, like, in the first round, because you have so much freedom, you can sort of sell out for points then and there if you want to. Just try to, like, steal, like, all, like, the resources and totems or whatever from other players before they can get to them.
And that can be viable.
It can be viable.
Depending on how you play it.
But if you have your villages positioned in a way that isn't perhaps optimal, then you will probably win that first round, but you're probably going to get hammered in the second round.
You always may want to be putting settlers out there to collect resources, but also continue your chain and get more on the islands and all that. Sometimes putting out a village seems like, oh man, I'm missing out a chance here. Like, well, they're going to be able to go and take a resource. I have to put out a village, which does nothing. So that's the thing. It doesn't necessarily feel that important in the moment. It almost sometimes feels like it's a useless move. Even if you know in the second round it can be so important. But yeah, that I love how they use the villages, and I also love. Wait till he's done drinking. And I also love that, like, if you were a savvy player, a lot of people tend to save their villages in this game for towards the end of the round. You know, you're not gonna. You might put them out early if you have like the spot you got to a spot that you really wanted to put one at. But in our experience, they tend to come out a little bit more frequently towards the end. A savvy player could be like, I'm just going to snatch up the last few resources really quick. And you could even get into a position where, you know, you have all your villages out and someone has like one or two fewer, which is also a huge advantage.
That's true. If you don't use them, you lose them.
Yeah.
And also, if you put them on any of the resource locations, you lose them. So you have to be really, you have to carefully consider when and where to place those.
Again, there's some refinement and depth to this that you're right, the rulebook doesn't necessarily indicate when you
it is surprising. And we mentioned the scoring system. I really like the scoring system.
Yes.
Because not only does it, cover kind of everything, which does allow for different play styles.
Yeah.
But I feel like it really rewards smart, balanced play. It doesn't, you can focus like hard on the resources, but I think it rewards people who set up in the first round for the second round. The way that, because you are obviously totaling the two rounds together. This game's never going to have like a best strategy because of all the randomness.
Yeah, I would say that there are definitely worst strategies.
Yeah, exactly.
Strategies that really don't work, but there definitely are no like ideal, like perfect ones.
No, but I would say, even with that randomness, I don't think a player is likely to luck into a victory just because of that randomness. The game, you still have to play smart.
If we're going to talk about like one of my negatives in the game, though, I would say it's definitely possible, given where you placed your villages, or where you place your villages doesn't matter. It is possible, because it's a random draw of resources and whatnot, that someone could be put in a slightly more ideal position going into the second round, based on what's drawn around their huts compared to, their villages compared to someone else. Yeah, I only mean that like in the sense that like, you could have more statuettes around you than, for instance, like a good wide variety of the resources. And I know what you're saying. Statuettes are worth 4 each. They're worthwhile, but I would say that the resources generally are more valuable to get.
Perhaps, but again, it rewards having multiples of the same resource. It rewards having a set of all the resources. There are, like even if you get lucky with the resources, which again, certainly possible, because it is randomized. I think it's not overdone, or it's not ever going to be too much of an issue, because again, so many of the ways you score in this game have nothing to do with the resources. They have to, getting on islands and chaining islands together with your settlers, and so again, and there's a cap on the resource points too. You can't score beyond a certain point.
Yeah, if you collect more than 4, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all. Right.
I also remember in our first game that happened where I feel like I think it was you who actually had a unlucky draw sort of in the second round, and you didn't have the best stuff around your villages, and yet you still came and pulled out the victory in that round just because you focused more on, all right, I'm going to chain to all the islands, and I'm going to get as many people on these islands as I can. And you get points for that too, and each island has its own point value, which I think is clever.
Yep.
So it all sort of comes together in the end where it's like, and I feel like the scores are generally always pretty close too, which again shows that even with the randomness, there's a level of balance.
Primarily with 2 players, I imagine that will more often be closer than not. This actually plays pretty well with 2, I think. It's not so much that you're just constantly avoiding each other the entire game. There is conflict.
Yeah.
And enough of it that I think it makes playing with 2 a perfectly fun experience. But yeah, I think with 2 it's more likely that the scores will be tight because players do have so much freedom of movement.
And the scores will be a lot higher, too.
Yes,
just extremely high. We've had some pretty high scores.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, another thing about the gameplay I am not so sure I love is that I feel like, and Reiner Knizia kind of does this a lot, he's sort of a guy who creates Euro games that sometimes feel like you have some sort of like ability to affect your opponents, but you don't actually all that much. And by that I mean, like in this game, I did find myself a few times, even in our playthrough, which was recorded, like going out of my way to like collect a 5th resource or a 6th resource to keep you from getting a complete set. I remember doing that, being like, this is the perfect strategy. And in the end, it didn't really do me any favors. I think long term, like, I guess you could, it's almost like a waste to go out of your way to sabotage your opponent. Now, granted, this was at 2 players, but
maybe in that scenario, I still think there's value to like blocking your opponent in this game so they can't get onto an island. Stuff like that.
But there's always, I mean, to me, it always felt like, okay, I'm block, I can do something else to get points. I don't know. It's surprisingly, it lacks confrontation, and I thought there would be more. I don't know.
No, it's not that kind of game.
But it's kind of how he is. He always sort of creates games where it feels like you can really affect other people, but you don't really all that much.
Doesn't risk or anything like that.
Yeah. But I mean, this is definitely a game that will appeal to, again, I said a wide range of players.
Oh, yeah.
From younger players. Like, I could definitely see kids under 10 enjoying this.
Easily.
And then even like, older, players would also enjoy it.
Yeah, it's easy to learn.
Yeah, it's extremely easy.
The rule book is...
It's really 3 pages.
It's 3 languages, so it's like 4, it's like 4 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about the production briefly. I think it's an excellently produced game.
I mean, it definitely, for what it is usually you can find it for, and then what you get, yes, I would completely agree.
I think it looks great. I mean, the map, I think is it's not like super busy or anything, but I think it's very pretty. I like all the tokens. They have like it's not the same art on each token. There's a variety.
Yeah,
which I think it's a really nice little touch to help get you in with the immersion and stuff. And I think everything feels like, I think these actually feel nice. There's a nice thickness to these cardboard pieces that you don't necessarily always get. It doesn't feel cheap. And then obviously these are wood. All the resources and what have you are wood, and
the villages are wood.
Yeah, game looks great.
Score sheets are double-sided.
Yeah,
they're double-sided, and
so you should not be running out of those.
There's color on them, and I think the little icons and stuff really let you know what you're supposed to be doing. I agree with you. The production is very good.
Shall we score it?
Yeah, let's final statements and scores.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched our channel before, D and I, and when Graham's on, we all have a different scoring scale. He does stars, I do letter grades. We just made scoring, I guess, quirky and fun because, it's not the most important thing. What matters more is what we said leading up to now. So,
yes. D. I mean, obviously, I quite enjoy this game. All my closing thoughts I kind of covered already. I think it's a great family game. I think good for all ages, and it's a really nice balance of weight and depth. That it can be hard to strike. And I can't wait to play this more often with more players than just the 2 of us. I am going to give this Blue Lagoon 4 stars out of 5.
It's a good score. Yeah, it's like it's well balanced. It's a very much a Reiner Knizia game. It's well balanced. A good amount of strategy is required. I would say the main thing, other than the things I pointed out that I just didn't necessarily like about the game, was that sometimes it felt kind of unremarkable, in the sense that like a lot of the games you just like putting a guy down and then someone else puts a guy down. Then you put another guy down.
Well, it's not a very social game. I think
that, and like and sometimes it feels repetitive. Sure, we already established that the 2 phases are distinct in some ways, but they also do feel samey. And I think for that reason, sometimes I felt like this game felt, or came off as unremarkable. That's just my opinion.
I mean, I look at it is basically a Euro. There's not a ton of player interaction. There's a lot of people sitting around in silence thinking about what to do next.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know that going in.
Yeah,
It's not a party game.
It's not Knizia's best, but it's not his worst. I would say it falls right in the middle of the pack for him. So I think I'm going to give this a B-. I think that's fair, you know. And it's but as always, another quality product from Blue Orange. And again, I think, like we said, appeals to a wide range of people.
Yes, indeed.
Or should appeal to a wide range of people. I don't want to speak for them. These people I speak about. D, help me out here and end this.
Thanks for watching this video, everybody. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell if you'd like, so you know when our videos come out immediately. Also, our social media is linked to below, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you want to follow us on any of those platforms. And, of course, you know, keep an eye out. Later in the week, we'll be back with another gameplay video, whatever that may be.
Yeah, we gotta figure out what that's going to be.
Yeah, our options are more limited, obviously, now that we're, you know,
away from our normal set.
Quarantined. But, yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Is that it? Hey, we're done?
We're done, D.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye.
See you next time.